Welcome to Loudoun Soccer's Safe Return to Play Coach Game Day Protocols. Loudoun Soccer's mission is to create soccer players, coaches, and teams of strong character, committed to achievement on the field and in our community. Our philosophy is developing champions for life. To accomplish our mission, Loudoun Soccer employs 5 core values: fun, integrity, fairness, teamwork, and stewardship. It's important that all club members live our values and rep the red. Loudoun Soccer's safe return to play includes policies and protocols that prioritizes safety, but also creates a set of guidelines designed to mitigate risks. Each club member plays a unique and important role in ensuring a safe return to play. Common sense habits must be adopted to ensure we all stay healthy. Individuals who are considered high risk or are not yet comfortable returning to the field should stay at home. If you're sick, or if you have been exposed to someone who may or does have COVID-19, stay at home. The coach is the leader of the team and as such must set the example for others to follow. Learn the rules that apply to before, during, and after each event and enforce them within your own team to ensure safety for all. Participating in a team sport like soccer provides tremendous benefits to the participants: physical, social, mental, emotional. They've always been there. Now, in these days of uncertainty, they take on an even more important role. And our role as coaches also takes on greater significance. For us to stay healthy and to stay involved on the field requires us as coaches to make smart and safe decisions off the field. Please do your part to stay healthy so you can stay on the field and help these kids through this difficult time. Let's start with some general considerations. We need to recognize the current state of affairs. Many kids over the last 6 months were idle. Some still are. So we're going to see some regression. Their fitness and focus levels will likely vary and will probably not be what they were 6 months ago. We need to ease players back into activity, both in terms of the intensity to prevent injuries, but also the habits to rebuild to allow them to achieve success. Let's set our expectations accordingly. Prior to a practice or a training session, we as coaches need to take time and plan out our sessions. Session plans are available for our recreational coaches in our Coaching Education Resource Center. But for those of you who'd like to plan out your own sessions, we need to take some additional considerations at hand. We want our activities to flow from one to the other. So consider the equipment and the spacing that you're going to need. You might organize a grid or a box that can contain multiple activities so you don't have to set up activity after activity and slow your session down. With those activities themselves, let's maximize the spacing and the movement, and let's minimize standing in line and opportunities where contact is going to occur. Those sort of contact activities might be tag games or dribbling in tight spaces so that we can maybe perhaps find other ways to engage players and keep them active. It's all designed to mitigate risk. One other thing to do before each training session is to communicate reminders and responsibilities to families. This might be a daily thing prior to each training session or perhaps a weekly email so that the habits we need all of our members to form can easily develop over the coming weeks. Prior to each practice, make sure your equipment is prepared, cleaned, and sanitized. Review your field location, the map, and any unique setup requirements. Make sure your pre-play questionnaire is completed and use the bathroom before you depart because not all of our practice facilities have working or available bathrooms. As you arrive on site and exit your vehicle, make sure you wear your mask. You should be wearing your mask to and from the parking lot, and while you're on the field. If you're really early, you might want to wait in your vehicle till about 5 or 10 minutes before your reporting time. If you're the earliest practice of the day, you can get out and set up your field. But if you're immediately after a team that is training, you'll need to wait. Make sure you manage your players accordingly so that they maintain physical distancing and they don't take the field until the previous group has departed. Use your hand sanitizer. If your field or facility has an appropriate gate to enter and exit from, make sure you go through the correct gate. And then as you arrive, organize your player stations. Use cones or markers to identify where players should set their equipment. Please arrange this off the field and away from play. Each station should be about 10 feet apart and at least 10 feet from the touchline or end line. You might even consider labeling these cones with the player's initials or numbers so they know where to go. Certain equipment cannot be touched or shared or reused by players, so we need to take great care in organizing our gear accordingly. Make sure your equipment is set up away from the players so players aren't touching them, and make sure we organize them so they're not being reused. A couple suggestions if you're using scrimmage vests. You might assign a vest to a player at the start of each session and collect it from them at the end, or maybe create two piles, a clean pile on one side of the field and a dirty pile on the other so players are not reusing those vests. Players are not permitted to touch equipment at this time, which means we as coaches need to plan additional time to lay out our fields. If you're the first session of the day, arrive early and use that extra time to get your field laid out. If you're the second session of the day or the third session of the day, wait for that team to depart before you lay out your fields. Hopefully, the training session plan that you put together prior to the session has a sense of flow from one activity to the other so you can lay out your field quickly and get your players started. As players arrive, greet them, but avoid physical contact. Be sure to check in on their individual health and then direct them to their station. As they come in, take attendance and compare that to their pre-play questionnaire results to make sure those pre-play questionnaires were submitted. Individual wellness checks with each player are helpful steps to help mitigate risk. It also helps to show that you care about the child's well-being. Temperatures do not need to be taken unless they are required by that specific facility. Make sure those pre-play questionnaires were completed or that player should not participate. Redirect them to mom or dad or the guardian that brought them, and they can complete the survey on site from their mobile device. If you as a coach see a player who is or appears to be sick, consider removing them from play, speak with their parents to see a little bit more about what's going on, and then send them home if needed. We want to err on the side of caution. We as coaches should be wearing masks or face coverings for the duration of each session. This means when we exit the vehicle, we have our mask on. When we walk through the parking lot, we have our mask on. When we're on the field, we have our mask on. It's most critical that we wear these masks when delivering instructions because the masks are designed to contain respiratory droplets. Respiratory droplets spread the most when voices are projected, whether it's yelling, cheering, or singing. But we as coaches are unlikely to be using our singing voices today. Please make sure your mask is on when delivering instructions to help keep you and others safe. Our coaching position, or where do we stand to watch and coach the players during the training session, should be off the field. It should be off the field in a normal environment, but it takes on greater importance now because it allows us to maintain physical distance from the players. Observe, direct, and instruct players as much as possible from off the field. During practices while the game is in play, avoid interfering with the play. It is natural for us as coaches to gravitate to the field to help players and be part of the action, but this puts us in a position where we might actually have contact with a child who is playing. We should be off the field most of our sessions anyways, but it takes on greater importance. Put yourself in a position off the field where you can observe all of your players. Despite some of these new conditions that we're in, we still have to coach. So we're going to try to do so as much as possible off the field, but there will be moments when we need to intervene. Pick those moments wisely. Use a natural stoppage, so when the ball exits the field, you can enter and then speak to your players. You might freeze the play to paint a picture for them. When you do intervene, avoid physical contact with players, and if you bring them in to deliver instructions, make sure that they're maintaining physical distancing. Demonstrate with visual explanations. Use your hands to point. When we do deliver information, keep your masks on. And a greater rule of thumb, whether it's pre-COVID or during COVID, keep these interventions short. Be brief, but brilliant. Soccer is a physical sport, which means injuries are likely to occur. If one of your players suffers an injury, start with a visual inspection to maintain physical distancing. If you as a coach need to care for a player, please wear personal protection equipment such as rubber gloves when caring for that player. If an athletic trainer or medical professional is on site, you can defer to them as we normally do, but you might also enlist that child's parent to enter the field with the referee's permission to help care for the injured child. Sometimes we as coaches will jump in and play in the training session. We might do that to raise the intensity or balance out teams or playing numbers. Sometimes we do it just to get a little exercise. But we have to be very careful now. Try to avoid playing in these sessions so you're minimizing contact with players. A few suggested alternatives: use a numbers up or numbers down where you're playing 5 versus 4, or perhaps use a neutral or +1 player to play 4v4 +1. That will work with older age players who understand the concept. Or just simply create conditions to raise the intensity of the match. Soccer is an outdoor sport, which means we may encounter inclement weather. The policies that have been previously in place regarding thunder and lightning must still be observed. Please make sure everyone waits in their own vehicle during this time and avoid having people cram into other vehicles for impromptu social gatherings. If for whatever reason a parent is off site and a child needs to be inside a vehicle, make sure everyone has their masks on. Try to ensure physical distancing within that vehicle and perhaps even open the windows to improve airflow. Practice or session length might be changed depending on your team or your age group. For our travel teams and older 11v11 and high school age rec teams, we're shortening practices to 75 minutes. Most rec practices will still be about 60 minutes. It's important, though, that we respect the team and the coach that is training before or after us. Make sure you plan your session to include departure time. So that means you might be wrapping your session up a few minutes early so that you can exit and the next team can enter. At the end of your session, please quickly clear and clean your field and area so the next arriving team can set up. Remember, players do not touch equipment, so coaches, you'll need to pick up your own cones. Instruct the players to get their masks on. They need to wear them when they exit. And if you're going to conduct any sort of post-session cool down or team talk, please do it off the field so the next team can set up quickly. As you wrap up your session and bring the kids in, make sure physical distancing occurs. Avoid long team talks. We still want to create a sense of camaraderie with our team, but we can't put our hands in to do a cheer. So come up with something creative that still allows players that level of camaraderie. Unfortunately, there are no common team snacks or refreshments permitted, so mom and dad can't bring cupcakes for their child's birthday. Remind the players as they exit to use hand sanitizer, and please use it yourself. After the event, when you return home, be sure to wash your hands, clean and disinfect any clothing, gear, or equipment that was used, and also reconcile your attendance list with the results of the pre-play questionnaire. It's incredibly important that accurate attendance from each event is maintained. Please visit us at our website, loudonsoccer.com, for additional information on our COVID-19 policies, including full protocols and policies. Look under the COVID-19 tab. For recreational coaches who want additional information on session plans, come to loudonsoccer.com, click on About, look under Coaches, and visit our Coaching Education Resource Center. We encourage all coaches and all of our club families to stay current with CDC guidelines as well as Loudoun County Health Department guidelines. If you have questions or concerns or need assistance, our Safe Return to Play Committee is there for you. Please contact us at safetoplay@loudonsoccer.com. To recap, please make smart decisions off the field so you stay healthy and available to influence these children on the field. Additional considerations are needed when planning your session plan. Equipment cannot be shared. Spacing needs to be maximized, so take the extra time to plan accordingly. Please be respectful of the teams and the coaches that are training before and after your session. Plan accordingly. Also recognize that these new conditions should not limit your ability to influence and improve players. Coaching in a mask is not ideal. We do not live in an ideal time. Make the best of what's available. Recognize that every moment matters. It is awesome that we get these kids back on the soccer field to restore some normalcy in their lives. Use this opportunity to influence them positively. Thanks for watching, and more importantly, for being a coach with us. Let's all pitch in to do our part. Please learn the rules, follow them, so our children can play. Thanks again.